and Instagram-worthy birthdays for the kids. But behind the curtains, it's quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. Daniel's a good man. Responsible. Loyal. He works hard. Provides. But somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me. He still says, "I love you" before bed, but it feels like muscle memory now. Like brushing his teeth or locking the front door. His touches are light, brief. His kisses land on my forehead, not my lips. And I've tried. I've really tried. New dresses. Date nights. Even asking him, "Are we okay?" He always says we're fine. But fine is just another word for fading. Then there's Jaden. Daniel's best friend since college. 15 years of history. He's the godfather to our firstborn. He was the best man at our wedding. He knows our favorite songs, our inside jokes, the way we dance when we're drunk. He's always been around. Barbecues, birthdays, holidays. He helps fix broken faucets. Picks up the kids when we're both stuck at work. He's funny, charming, too easy to talk to. And for the longest time, he was just that Daniel's best friend. Nothing more. Until something changed. It wasn't sudden. It crept in like fog. Slow. Silent. Undeniable. He started looking at me differently. Not in a way anyone else would notice. But I did. The pauses in conversation. The way he remembered little things like how I liked my tea or that I hated Sunday nights. The softness in his voice when he asked, "You okay?" Like he meant it. And I'd tell myself it was nothing. Just Jaden being Jaden. Kind. Observant. Attentive in a way Daniel used to be. But there was a shift. And once I noticed it, I couldn't unnotice it. I started waiting for his visits. For his jokes. For that half-second longer his hand would rest on mine when he passed me something. I'd check my reflection before he came over. Put on lip balm. Undo one more button on my shirt than usual. Not because I wanted him. At least, that's what I told myself. But because I missed being seen. Being wanted. Being alive. And the worst part? He never crossed a line. Never said anything inappropriate. Never touched me in a way he shouldn't. But he didn't have to. Because sometimes all it takes is someone seeing the part of you your own husband no longer looks at. Jaden didn't create the cracks. He just stepped into them. And once he did, something inside me shifted too. Not all at once. Not in fireworks. But in glances. In silence. In need. And that's how it began. Not with lust. Not even with love. But with loneliness. We took a trip to the mountains. Just the 5 of us, me, Daniel, the kids, and Jaden. We'd done it before, a few times over the years. The same cabin by the lake. Wooden floors that creaked, a fireplace that barely worked, and a deck that overlooked the water like something out of a postcard. The air was colder than I expected. Fresh. Clean. A kind of silence that felt heavier than the one in our house. But up there, we pretended things were still the way they used to be. We played board games after dinner. Daniel poured wine. Jaden made us laugh so hard my stomach hurt. The kids ran around in mismatched pajamas. And for a while, I forgot. I let myself laugh. I let my shoulders drop. And then, he said it. "You look stunning in that dress." Simple. Soft. Barely loud enough for anyone else to hear. But it landed somewhere deep inside me. Daniel didn't even glance up. Didn't hear it. Didn't care. But I did. Because it had been so long since someone said something like that to me, not as a compliment, not out of politeness, but like they meant it. I smiled. Too long. Said nothing. Our eyes met for just a second too long. And I felt it. That buzz. That dangerous, low hum beneath the skin. Later that night, Daniel went to bed early. The kids were out cold. I stayed up, folding blankets, blowing out candles. Jaden was by the fire, stacking the last of the wood. He looked over his shoulder. "You mind helping me carry the rest from the shed?" I should have said no. But I didn't. The air outside bit at my skin. He offered me his jacket. I took it. It smelled like cedar and something warm I couldn't name. The shed was only a few steps away, but the walk felt longer, quieter, more intimate than it should have. We didn't talk much, just moved the logs in silence. But silence has a sound, and that night it was deafening. At one point, we reached for the same piece of wood. His hand brushed mine. Neither of us moved. And for a second, just one, I swear the whole world paused. He looked at me. Not down, not away. Just looked. And I felt myself leaning in. Barely. Instinctively. Then I caught myself. Laughed it off. Said something stupid about the cold. But my hands were shaking. Not from the weather. I told myself it was harmless. Just a weird moment. A fluke. Nothing would come of it. But that was a lie. Because my body remembered. The way it used to feel when I was wanted. Desired. Touched with intention, not obligation. And no matter how much I tried to ignore it, something had shifted. What happened the next morning changed everything. I avoided him the next morning. Didn't make eye contact. Kept my words short. Smiled too tightly. Laughed too loudly, trying to convince myself that nothing had happened. That I hadn't felt what I felt. Jaden didn't push. He didn't mention the night before. He was normal. And that somehow made it worse. I watched him play cards with the kids on the porch, and I hated how easy he made it all seem. Like he hadn't stood inches away from me in the cold. Like he hadn't looked at me like I was the only thing that existed in that moment. And still, when I closed my eyes that night, I dreamed of him. Of his voice. His hands. His breath so close I could feel it on my cheek. I hated myself for it. Woke up ashamed. Woke up, wanting. Daniel didn't notice. He never does. He was on his laptop by 7 a.m., phone pressed to his ear, pacing the kitchen while our kids begged for pancakes. I tried. I really tried. That night, I lit a candle. Put on the perfume he used to compliment. Slipped into the nightgown he bought me on our anniversary 5 years ago, the one still folded neatly at the bottom of my drawer. I curled into him in bed, pressed my lips against his neck, ran my fingers across his chest. He turned to me, kissed my forehead, and said, "Not tonight, babe. I'm exhausted." And, just like that, I shrunk. He didn't even notice the effort. Didn't ask why I looked disappointed. Just rolled over and drifted off. I stared at the ceiling for hours, feeling invisible, unseen, unwanted. So I wrote about it, poured it all out into a note on my phone. The firewood, the look, the ache in my chest, the guilt in my bones. Every word was a confession. But before the sun came up, I deleted it. I told myself it was just a phase, that I could fix this, that I was still in control. Then one night, after the trip, a message from Jaden popped up on my phone. No words, just a link to a song. Thought you'd like it. I pressed play. The lyrics were soft, slow, wounded. A love that couldn't be named, a touch that couldn't be claimed, a longing that lived in silence. I sat there on the couch, in the dark, with the kids asleep upstairs and Daniel snoring in the next room. And I cried, not because of the song, but because of the silence after. The silence that wrapped around me like a confession. The silence that said everything I wasn't brave enough to admit. I knew I was slipping, and I didn't stop. Because something in me didn't want to. The moment I let him in was the moment I lost control. It started with the occasional text. Simple things. A meme. A joke. Did you see this? Or, this reminded me of you. I'd smile without meaning to. Type and delete my replies 3 times before sending. We had inside jokes now. Once Daniel wouldn't understand, because Daniel had stopped asking questions. Jaden asked, always, "How are you really? How was your day? What are you thinking about right now?" And I answered, every time. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I started turning my phone face down at home. Started wearing lipstick on Tuesdays. Started humming again when I made coffee. One afternoon, he came over while Daniel was out. Said he was just passing by. The kids were at school. The house was quiet. We ended up in the kitchen. I handed him a mug. Our fingers brushed. Neither of us moved. It was nothing. And yet, it was everything. I felt it all rushing back, the heat in my face, the quickening in my chest, the ache I had learned to live with. He looked at me. Longer than he should have. Softer than he needed to. "I've always admired you," he said. Quiet. Steady. Not a line. Not a flirt. Just truth. Something in me cracked. I don't even know why. I just started crying. He reached for me. Held me. And I didn't stop him. His arms were warm. Too warm. Too familiar. Too wrong. The hug lingered. Longer than it should have. My head against his chest. His hand in my hair. Our breath sinking. His lips hovered close to mine. So close I could taste the hesitation. But I pulled away. Shaking. Ashamed. He didn't say a word. Just nodded, like he understood something I hadn't said out loud. That night, I told Daniel I'd gone to the store. Said I needed something for dinner. There was no dinner. No grocery bag. Just lies, stacking quietly like bricks between us. I was becoming two people. With Daniel, I was the wife. The reliable, tired, responsible wife. With Jaden, I was a woman again. A woman with laughter in her throat, fire in her belly, and someone who actually looked at her like she mattered. I knew it was wrong. I knew it couldn't end well. But I kept going, because it felt good to feel something again. The storm hit on a night that felt too perfect to be real. There was a charity event that evening. One of those formal things with soft jazz in the background and name tags pinned to expensive dresses. Daniel was supposed to be there. We were meant to walk in together, smile for photos, pretend. But an hour before it started, he called. Something about a work emergency, he couldn't make it. Said he was sorry. Said he owed me dinner. I told him it was fine. Hung up before the tears reached my voice. Jaden was already there when I arrived. He looked different. Sharp suit. Eyes that watched me the second I walked in. And when I caught his gaze, he didn't look away. We didn't talk much that night. But we didn't need to. He laughed at the right jokes. Brushed the small of my back when no one was looking. Poured my champagne before I even asked. We were shadows in plain sight. Nothing obvious. But everything felt louder. The way our elbows touched when we sat too close. The way his eyes scanned the room before they landed back on mine. I should have gone home alone. But he offered to drive me. Said it was on his way. And I said yes. Of course I did. The city lights flickered against the windshield as we drove. The car was quiet, but not comfortable. Tense. Heavy. Alive. Then it started to rain. Just a soft tapping at first. Then harder. The kind of rain that makes you want to pull over and wait it out. So he did. Pulled into a quiet street. Turned off the engine. And for a moment, the only sound was the rain and the beating in my chest. I turned to say something, I don't even remember what. But I didn't speak. Because his hand found mine. And then, his lips found mine. Soft. Barely there. A question. I should have pulled away. I should have said no. But instead, I answered. The kiss deepened. Hungry. Desperate. Every ounce of restraint I had left melted with the storm outside. When we finally broke apart, I was breathless. Trembling. Ashamed. But I didn't ask him to take me home. I didn't open the door. I didn't run. I followed him inside. To his apartment. The lights were dim. The room smelled like cologne and rain. He took off my coat. I took off my guilt. We didn't speak. We just let it happen. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking about Daniel. I wasn't thinking at all. Just feeling. Touch. Heat. Release. But morning came. And so did the weight. I opened my eyes to the light bleeding through his blinds. The air was still. My dress crumpled on the floor. My wedding ring still on my finger. I sat up, and guilt wrapped itself around my throat like a scarf pulled too tight. I had betrayed the man who trusted me most, with the one man who should have been off limits. And nothing, not love, not loneliness, not longing, could ever make it right. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where secrets aren't just told, they unfold. The morning after, Jaden barely looked at me. He offered me coffee, made some comment about the weather. But his eyes, they were different. Detached. Careful. And mine? I couldn't meet them, not without crumbling. I left without finishing my drink. Said I had somewhere to be. He didn't stop me. Didn't ask where. Just nodded. When I got home, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Daniel had left early for work. There was a note on the counter, left early, big meeting. Love you. I stared at that note for a long time. His handwriting. His words. The man who trusted me. I wanted to tear it in half. I wanted to hug it to my chest. I didn't know what I wanted. I tried to slip back into normal. Family dinners. School drop-offs. Laundry. Smiles. But nothing fit anymore. It was like trying to wear someone else's skin. Daniel started noticing. In his own quiet way. You've been quiet lately, he said one night. Just that. No pressure. No follow-up. And I couldn't even answer. Just smiled, tucked my hair behind my ear, and lied. I'm fine. But I wasn't. I was drowning. Jaden stopped coming around. No texts. No visits. No songs. He vanished just enough to keep me spiraling. And that silence was worse than the guilt. I kept checking my phone, kept looking at the door when I heard a car pull up. Nothing. I was unraveling. Every time Daniel touched me, I flinched. Not because of him, but because of me. I'd look at our kids, their eyes, their innocence, and wonder what kind of mother does this. What kind of wife becomes a stranger in her own home? I had the thing I longed for. The fire. The desire. The feeling of being seen again. And I lost everything that mattered. Then, Daniel's phone lit up. A name appeared on the screen. A name I never expected. The phone was face up on the table. Daniel was in the shower. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't. But then I saw it, his name. Jaden. My heart stopped. Everything around me went still. It wasn't a new message. It was old, tucked beneath a string of casual conversation. But one line stood out. Burned. You sure you want to go through with this? That was it. No context. No explanation. Just those words. And my world split in two. Go through with what? What were they planning? Had he told Daniel? Was this some twisted test? I stared at that message for what felt like hours. The noise in my head was deafening. What if Daniel knew? What if this had all been orchestrated? What if Jade